Taoseti.world is a new website that lets anyone explore interactive maps of 3 of the zones Marathon is launching with. The developers have said that the storytelling we're going to get in Marathon is inextricably linked with understanding the personality of every zone. So this is our first chance to properly do that before either the preview weekend or the game itself comes out. In my last video, we looked at Perimeter. We got a sense of what the Colonists were doing there, some insight into how everything started to fall apart. Then we went a little off the rails trying to decipher some of that zone's mysteries. We're going to do the same here for Marsh, and this video will again be broken into 2 parts. First, all the new information we can learn from this site, and then the rampant speculation.
You're getting into Marsh, you're starting to understand something bad happened here, and you're seeing signs of that in a way that wasn't apparent on Perimeter.
On Marsh, we've got the anomaly, and it's this strange alien entity that has erupted up out of the ground.
You're really feeling signs that this is more of an epicenter of where things went wrong on this colony.
Located in the colony's former farming sector, the zone contains research, cultivation, and processing facilities tied to food sustainability efforts. Environmental conditions are marshland with limited visibility and broad sightlines. Automated systems show signs of partial operation. A quarantine operation was initiated here prior to abandonment. The presence of an unidentified anomaly intersects multiple regions of the zone. Marsh has a highway that runs east to west, cutting the map in 2. The description states that the West Gate appears to have functioned as the zone's primary entry checkpoint. Its layout suggests early screening and resource monitoring before materials were routed deeper into the zone. If we follow the road, 2 key features stand out. First, an intersection just north of algae ponds, which reads, "This checkpoint was likely used to control all traffic entering and leaving Marsh's core facilities. Structural differences suggest it may have been added later, possibly in response to security concerns." The second feature of note is an area where the road has collapsed due to the presence of the anomaly mentioned earlier, before the road leads through the region called Complex and out to the East Gate. This checkpoint is said to be severely damaged and completely offline. When functional, it likely served as the primary exit for shipments moving out to other colony locations. If we go back to quarantine, the region marker reads, "An emergency contagion control site deployed to the zone's western edge to contain some level of unidentified threat using isolation units and outbreak protocols." There's only 1 point of interest marker in the south of this area for a garage, and to its east is the region called Maintenance. The marker reads, "This facility supported the heavy equipment used to seed and harvest the grow fields beyond the zone. Its structures appear intact, but inactive." The POI in this area a little to the east is a clean bay, which is not far from the sub-region canal, and it's said that this monitoring station appears to have regulated water flow when Marsh was active. Its placement suggests it played a role in maintaining reserves for seeding and harvesting operations. The image on the website also includes some graffiti, a red circle with either a symbol or possibly a figure overlaid, and some handwriting that I can't really make out. North of the canal and the clean bay are the algae ponds. It reads, "The region features shallow growth pools and research stations that focus on protein alternatives using native organisms. Elevated structures provide clear views across adjacent areas." Now, this area is also highlighted as one of the 3 combat hot zones on this map, and is also home to Marsh's unique boss, the Scorch Warden. Further north is one of Marsh's core compounds, Greenhouse. and were given this description. The region appears dedicated to seed development, controlled plant growth, and biomanipulated produce. Systems are automated and remain partially active. It's also home to a POI, a bank of machines titled Protein Stations. Now, if we keep heading east, there is another core compound, but unlike the last one, it has no direct connection to the main road or any of the other structures. It's called Bioresearch, and we're told that equipment and lab layouts indicate active study of Tau Ceti 4 plant life for pharmaceutical applications. Safety infrastructure suggests high-risk experimentation. The POI here, titled Dechem Stall, looks like a shower, presumably for decontamination. Heading back south, we come to the largest structure on the map, Complex. It says that it appears to have served as the central command structure for this zone's agricultural operations. Upper levels are sealed, ground level access points and a landing pad indicate outbound transport activity at some point. One of Marsh's hot zones in its own right, and home to another POI titled Speak No, See No, Hear No, where we see graffiti of 3 faces, one gagged, one blinded, and one deafened. Complex is also connected to our last region and final hot zone, which sits at the far south of the map, AI Uplink. We are told that when its systems were functional, AI Uplink connected the local support intelligence to the wider colony network and the Marathon ship. Now, finally, the elephant in the room, north of AI Uplink, bisecting the eastern half of the map, is the subregion called Anomaly. We're told that an unidentified energy pattern has cut through Marsh, leaving a visible distortion across the terrain. Its origin and behaviour remain unknown, and its presence has drawn increasing attention from both runners and the UESC. It comes with our last POI titled Suspended Biomass, with an image of a colonist in proximity to the anomaly, hovering above the floor in a very hard to describe state. And that's all the new information we've been given about Marsh. From here on out, it's just going to be my thoughts and speculation. I want to talk first about what exactly the colonists were doing at Marsh, and then we'll dig into the clues as to what went wrong here. So, we now know that Marsh is a set of facilities related to the colony's attempts to set up food production on Tau Ceti, to make life permanently sustainable using just the local resources. Outside of the map will be fields, the grow fields that we see in the Marathon cinematic trailer. And those crops we see come from seeds that are genetically modified at the facility called Greenhouse. So you probably have this back and forth traffic between farmers taking the planting resources and materials out of Marsh to the fields, and then returning with their harvest. And there's clearly lots of traffic going back and forth, hence the huge maintenance facility sitting near the west gate. As I said, they're trying to make it sustainable, so beyond genetically modified seeds, they're also trying to cultivate other local food sources. Algae ponds' purpose is said to be protein alternatives, and in that POI in Greenhouse, one of these protein alternatives appears to have been found. Unfortunately, it does appear to be called tick milk, and I'll let you imagine how that is extracted. I mean, the green post on one of the other stations in this POI looks like a tick, so we can guess where this is coming from. Now, it does also kind of make sense that alongside this, there is this bio-research lab, and it's there to investigate, apparently, the medicinal properties of the various local plants that, say, the farmers and biologists are coming across. That said, there's a sinister edge to just about everything in Marathon that we've seen so far, and I'll talk a bit more about this area when we get to what went wrong. So, just to round out our understanding of Marsh, it also reads to me that the AI in this area is genuinely just installed locally on site, rather than just overseeing it remotely from another location. So, At AI uplink, we'll probably find the local AI's cause. And again, I assume it's on site because if there are, say, network issues or some other disaster affects connection to the other sites on Tau Ceti, well, if it's on site locally, this AI can still operate autonomously here. And keeping the colonists fed is probably a pretty important piece of the overall colony infrastructure, so it makes a lot of sense that they invested in installing a local AI. Now, for a time, this all worked, until I think not just one event, but a series of events occurred. First, a mystery sickness, then the emergence of the anomaly, and then finally, the actual collapse of the colony. So that mystery sickness, I think it comes first because it's what triggers the quarantine. So, I actually don't think it's the presence of the anomaly that's the root of the cause of this. In the Marathon cinematic, colonists working in the fields start exhibiting signs of it years before the anomaly is, well, I believe, first shown. So I think it's this mystery illness spreading amongst colonists that the initial quarantine facility was built to keep out. It's why it's set up on the western edge, where the farmers are, the gate where they are coming in and out of, built to keep things out, rather than keep things in, let's say if it was the anomaly. As to what that mystery illness is, well, do you remember that bio-research facility I mentioned earlier? Just a little bit to the east of where the colonists' food is being designed? I mean, if you were conspiracy-minded, you might wonder if there is a connection there between the high-risk experimentation research going on at that facility and what is happening to the colonists in the region. Could there just be some accidental cross-contamination going on? Or something more intentional, something more sinister? I'm sorry, New Caloric fans, but maybe the USC's favoured pink corporation isn't the friend mouth they make themselves out to be. And that's all I'll say for now, until we learn more. But whilst this is going on, things do change again when the anomaly appears in Marsh. That said, it doesn't signal the end of Marsh. We actually have evidence that operations here continued for some time. Take a listen.
An off-schedule perimeter check authorized by on-duty supervisor. This is Holt, responding to unusual readings in the northeast sector of the anomaly investigation site. Probably just a temperature flux again. Huh? Hello? Hey, this is a restricted area. Who are you? Funny. Turn around. I said turn around. Found someone. I can't see them very well. Too much fog.
Hey, you need to come with me. Step out where I can see you. Now!
Back up!
Back up!
Whilst something horrible does definitely happen to the technician, they still make it sound like it's fairly routine to be working around the anomaly. I think this does suggest that the anomaly itself was smaller and didn't use to cut through the road. Presumably, they would have prioritized building a new road around it otherwise, and there's no evidence that that happened. So, I think that's a sign that maybe the anomaly started off small, and is continuing to grow, and maybe it's grown to the size that we see it now in Marsh. And as for what the anomaly is and what it's doing, is it related to the lore of the original trilogy by way of the Yarrow or Working Kakanta? Maybe? It could also be something new, though, and original to this game's story, and I'm just going to park that question for now. Regardless, it seems that the colony was still active sometime after the anomaly appeared, at least for some period of time. Now, for the final event, the actual overall collapse of the colony and the disappearance of everyone, I want to sort of hone in on what we can learn from Complex. First off, similar to Perimeter, we see signs of damage, damage that might be sabotage, in the way that the road to the east gate has completely collapsed, like the eastern section of the data wall. And this could just be wear and tear from decades of neglect. But the POI here, speak no, see no, hear no, I think is a reminder that a certain faction was at some point active in this region. Let's break down this graffiti and why I think it's Mida. It draws on the three wise monkeys proverb that typically depicts one monkey covering his eyes and not seeing, another covering his ears and not hearing, and another covering his mouth and not speaking, in order to, in the Buddhist tradition, avoid evil thoughts and deeds. Though in the West, however, we would tend to interpret it as a message about willful ignorance, turning a blind eye, not speaking about evil that we see or hear. When I look at some of the earliest Mida imagery and the language we got for this game, for example the graffiti that was done on Venice Beach a few years ago, Mida uses human faces a lot in their iconography. This face looks like he's been blinded, made mute, and we can only see one ear. There are also a couple of cases where we also see a trio of faces clustered together. And phrases like hear our silence, touching on hearing and speaking right next to two massive eyes, just convinces me that Mida imagery and rhetoric is inextricably linked with human bodies and humanity, set against the artificial unintelligence and inhumanity of the AIs and the UESC, who Mida, I think we can safely say, think are evil. So, that message on the wall, it might be a protest message by a Mida sympathizer, meant to call out other colonists for turning a blind eye to the evil perpetrated as they see it by the UESC or the colony AIs. But another interesting option would be that it's genuinely a mantra as intended. A reminder to not look, nor listen, nor speak to evil. Where evil, again given their prominence in the original ARG and Mida's imagery, might be the colony AIs. Especially if there was a period where Mida had overthrown local and colony AI leadership, as speculated and feared by the UESC in their original documentation when they thought about sending people to Tau Ceti. Could this be a reflection that some of the colonists thought that the AIs were watching them, listening to them, trying to speak to them, and that this message tells those colonists to not speak to the AIs? Do not listen to them. Don't even look at them. But that's it for Diam Marsh for now. I think we are, once again, getting out into the weeds of speculation, and I'm just really excited to actually get into the map when it launches, and we will see just how far off some of my thoughts are. If there are things that you spotted that I didn't, leave a comment to let other viewers know about them, and also let me know if you want me to do a video on Outpost. The information available for that map is pretty limited, so it might just be worth waiting for the game to come out. Now, if you enjoyed the video, a like is always appreciated, and if you want more marathon story content, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.